we don't do mean mugging too good. Can y'all see that?
Oh yeah. That looks like a 90s alternative rock band for sure.
Yeah, it does.
That's exactly right. All black
That's
shirts.
Nickelback.
Yeah, it was Nickelback.
Yeah.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Predator Camo.
Man, this one feels good, right? I know people have been looking at this picture over your shoulder for a while now. I think that was 2018, but we just, over the last, how many years, keep coming back to Predator Camo because it's been so damn good for us.
No doubt. I think we bought our first set off of Jen at the Archer Trade Show almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And Jen's still with the company, and the patterns have only improved since then. They actually were recently acquired within the past couple of years. We've had a chance this past year to go and meet with new ownership, talk about redesigning a lot of the old lines, plans for new patterns, all of the above. So really excited about what's to come, not only this coming year, but in years to come. There's a lot of good stuff coming from Predator.
Yeah, and I mean, for us, it's always been going back to that breakup pattern, right? That's the historic look, whether you're talking about the spring greens or brown deceptions or fall grays.
Yep.
I mean, that breakup is really what's been so powerful for us in a tree stand. And right now, they're letting anyone use the code HUNTR on the Predator Camo website and get 20% off any of the lines, including all the new stuff that dropped here in July.
Be the Predator.
And we're back.
Ew.
HUNTR Podcast, episode 272, as Nick keeps us in line from afar.
Lucas was making fun of me in North Dakota the other day for that. It would just be, ew.
Hey-o.
We've been doing that for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where we started, but it's been the same now. Once we settled in, it's
a lot of, and we're back. Ayo, we're in it now.
We're in it now. So, hey, before we get ripping here, we appreciate you guys tuning in, whether that's on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Those are the three main platforms that we drop these episodes on, and we do that every Tuesday and Thursday night at 6 p.m. Eastern time. We're doubling now through the end of the season. Sometime in maybe December or January, we'll cut back again. But for now, we're at you twice a week here. And if you've written us on Instagram, direct message, or the website, those are the two that we try to keep up with the most diligently. And we have some merch on the website that Nick I think is still angling towards a proposal here. So
he still needs to recoup some money.
He needs to recoup some funds for bigger the diamond, the
more likely the yes,
better the odds, I guess. You can use code HUNTR HUNTR on any of our partners' websites for a discount in varying amounts depending on the partner. There's some really good ones out there, and we obviously appreciate you guys using that. Our partners do as well. So other than that, here we go.
Here we go. We recorded one this morning, doing one this afternoon. Still September 11th. Trying to shake ourselves out of the somber mood of everything.
Yeah, or not. I mean, that's what it is today. It's okay.
No, it's a good realization to be into, and a good gut check for what's important in life and what's not. But yeah, so thankful you guys are with us and talking to us. This is airing in mid-September, so your seasons, a lot of seasons probably are just opening. I know Wisconsin, Missouri are opening up on the horizon, Ohio, Iowa, Illinois. So yeah, we're just ripping and ripping at this point. So we're still dry. Yes, we're still dry.
For the foreseeable future, yeah.
Lack of rain, and still EHD happening.
Yep.
It's just a lot of things that are just, out of the control of anything that you want to do. I have had a lot of people, and maybe it's a good thing every once in a while, food plots are not doing that well, especially anything that you've put in for the fall. But in a lot of cases, they have substantial acorns dropping. Get in the woods is essentially going to be the common theme here, and find some of those hot oak trees and potentially find some fresh scrapes. We were just talking about that a little bit ago. I bet we start finding some scrapes around some of these hot oak trees and stuff. And yeah, I mean that's the adaptation.
I'm trying to think of an analogy to or to assimilate this too. Like what is the mode here? It's it almost feels like we're crash landing a little bit. It feels like a little bit like we're in in a plane, like we're bringing it in for, you know, maybe there's a war zone or something that we're getting ready to head into, but like we just lost the left engine.
Yeah.
The wing just blew off, and now we're just coasting, hoping to get a safe enough landing that we can, you know,
we're just hoping we got
something this year,
or we've got a parachute on our back that we're just about to jump and pull the cord.
I'm waiting for the moment,
because it looks dry for the foreseeable future, unfortunately. But again, seasons are starting. You know, even though some of these things aren't working out the way that you might want, you know, ultimately, like, deer are still going to be on a pattern. They're still going to do things, whether that's limited water opportunities, limited food opportunities. And so, you know, particularly in those first week or two of the season, depending on when you open, there's a lot of patterns that are just turning into the fall patterns or coming out of summer patterns that, you know, I think we've talked about enough are some really good times to get on good deer. So, you know, don't completely shy away from that. Also, we're in that weird time frame where we've got a lot of deer shedding out. We've got bachelor groups breaking up. Food sources are changing. Some of these deer kind of disappear for 7, 8, 9, 10 days and then just, you know, pop back up on camera. So I wouldn't necessarily hit the panic button if you go 4 or 5 days without seeing a deer that you've been seeing consistently.
Yep. No, there's a lot of season ahead of us. It's a kind of a hurry up and wait. You know, it's like we think we know, and then we don't.
Yep.
You know, but there's time.
Yep. So anyways, we got a cool guest today. So we've got Travis Tbone Turner on.
Yeah, somehow for the first time in 5 years.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're long overdue.
Yeah, long overdue. So we've known Tbone for quite a while. Just working with the Bone Collector crew on stuff, and you know, I think we'll probably get into it today. You know, whether people know or not, you know, probably one of the best guys from an archery gear knowledge standpoint, you know, and background as a professional shooter and everything else. I mean, you know, we see Tbone as kind of the funny entertainer who's out there just, you know, killing and stacking animals. But at the same time, like, the dude is extremely smart when it comes to, you know, archery tech and gear and putting together, you know, bow and even the shooting aspect of things, obviously, with his background. So it'd be cool to kind of get into that with him and just dig in and you know, have a cool conversation, see where she goes today.
Yeah, right on, man. Let's get it.
Okay, let's bring him in. We got you, dude. Always fun on the technical side, right?
Golly, man. I mean, we were having to pump in sunshine down here in Georgia, and this internet thing has got us stumped.
Yeah, I get it, man. Well, have you guys been getting rain down there?
Well, great year from all the way up to about 30 days ago, and then like it has been for the last 5 years, it's just dried up. We haven't had any measurable rain in the last 3 weeks, and it doesn't show that we're having any coming up either. So it seems to be the case all across the South. Well, it sounds like for us, the Southeast, the last 5 years, it's been that way. It's just been drought conditions, and you know, we're all ready to plant food plots. We've got them all spread. We're probably 30, 45 days behind you guys. We don't ever plant until after the 25th of September because the threat of army worms and then plus the drought. So we're prepped and ready, but we're just waiting on some rain.
Yeah, no, we've been in the ground, and now the seed's just sitting there. My turkeys are eating it all up, one of the two, you know, and yeah, the forecast does not look good anytime soon.
We're like an August 1st plant date where we're at, and I think we're going on 7 or 8 weeks with, I can't say no rain, but I mean
not enough.
Essentially no rain.
Yeah, we was good on rain until up to about the 15th of August, and then we haven't had any since then. So yeah, luckily, you know, you get used to it, and I'm very fortunate that Georgia's a bait state, so we've got other options, and persimmons are dropping a little on the early side this year, and looks like we got a good mast crop. So, you know, we got alternatives. Hey, you know, the way to look at it is the deer out there, 365, they got to deal with it no matter what. So that doesn't mean we're not going to be out there scratching away trying to put an arrow in one.
That's right.
For sure.
Tbone, how far do you live from, because we came down and visited Michael that one time and actually happened to fly in on the day he'd shot his biggest Georgia buck. That was on the pecan plantation down there. How far are you from there?
About 35 minutes.
Yeah, so right there.
Yeah. Actually, he's coming up tonight. Me and a bunch of our close friends get together, about 15 or 20 of us, every Thursday night, all year long. We get together and shoot till dark, and even after dark, we got lights out there, and then we all get together, and we've built like a huge in the basement here. We each person takes turn buying food for everybody, and we just sit there, and we end up staying till 11 or 12 o'clock at night, just telling hunting stories, and it's like a big redneck bow hunting slumber party.
Love that, man. That's awesome. Very cool.
He's coming up tonight to shoot with us.
I'll never forget that, man. That was a lot of fun.
It's
just like, because we're not from the South, we're from Pennsylvania, and to fly down. Yeah. Obviously, there was no way to plan it, but we didn't know Michael was going to shoot that buck that day, and it also was timed with they had just harvested all their pecans, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so they got these giant sacks of pecans sitting around, and so same deal. Everybody came in to see Michael's buck, and we're sitting there cracking pecans all day and telling stories, and we got to share a little bit of deer camp there with those guys. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's got a nice place down there. It's in a great area of the state, and there's a lot of landowners right around there that practice the same land management. Jeff Foxworthy, Realtree Farms, and Dan Amos from Aflac. So yeah, it's a definitely a community. It's on we almost call it around here like the Bermuda Triangle for they grow good deer down there. It's a really nice place.
It's the oddball of the state of Georgia.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh man. Well, dude, we appreciate you coming on, and obviously a lot of our listeners probably are very familiar with you, but just from some of our background, so are you born and raised Georgia boy?
Nope, I'm from Ohio actually.
No shit.
Good.
Yep. Born in Dayton, Ohio. My dad was a fireman for the city of Dayton, and he got transferred. They honored his time in Dayton as well as his military time, and they were needing firemen for the city of Atlanta, so we transferred down here, and he was a fireman for the city of Atlanta and Fulton County, which is where Atlanta is, for the rest of his career. So we moved down here when I was about 5. So yeah, I'm a Georgia boy, but I was hatched up in Ohio.
Yeah. Very cool, man. And we kind of obviously we had Bill and Tyler on, we had Blanton on, we've had Waddy on, and it's amazing. Like we always talk about just kind of that initial group getting together from your area and the Realtree exposure. If I'm remembering correctly, and I guess correct me if I'm also wrong, were you in one of the early Foxworthy videos as well?
Oh yeah, back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Incomplete deer hunter stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that kind of got that and the Monster Bucks DVDs where we had the archery tournament.
Yeah.
So, I was working on their bows, throughout the 90s behind the scenes, and man, to me, I was, running my shop. I had my shop, and I was, getting to compete across the country, shooting, tournaments and stuff. And, I got to work on their bows and set their bows up. So to me, I was living a redneck dream. It's like, man, the bows that I'm working on and the arrows that I'm fletching are going across the country with, Monster Bucks, which is arguably the most popular DVD and VHS series ever. And, there was such a huge pride factor that I was able to help those guys, be a little bit better, be a little more proficient and kill these deer. It's like, man, I had made it. I felt like, man, this is the top of the mountain. And then they, after 5 or 6 years of doing that, they asked us to work on the setting the targets behind the scenes and some of the behind the scenes production. And then asked me to be a character with Jeff Foxworthy. And that's where we came up with Tbone. And, they wanted to kind of showcase that there's more depth to Tbone than just being a fat guy with some Bubba teeth and a hat, and just been a part of the Realtree family ever since. So yeah, a lot going from 15 minutes of fame to carving out a blessed career in the outdoor industry. It sure has been a great ride, that's for sure.
That's awesome, man. And so your bow shop, I guess even going back before that, I mean, did you grow up in a hunting family?
My dad hunted squirrels and stuff, and about the time that I was really getting, outdoor family for sure. We fished and squirrel hunted, and there wasn't too many deer and opportunities to deer hunt, because I'm showing my age. But in the 70s, there wasn't that many opportunities to go hunting, and then, you'd go for 2 or 3 days. If you seen a deer track, you was like, hey, I'm hot on the trail.
Yeah.
So it's not like it is now for sure. So and about the time that I was really getting into it and kind of on an independent side, 15, 16, 17, my dad kind of got out of it. He would fish a little bit. We might squirrel hunt 1 or 2. So I was kind of on my own then. But my uncles was a big inspiration, and then plus the dads that are in the neighborhood that I grew up with, they were hunters and stuff. So it was inevitable that I couldn't get enough of it. I was kind of against archery hunting to begin with.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Where did that come in in play?
Well, my dad got me a bow when I was 10 years old for having good grades and a recurve, and he didn't know anything. He bought me a recurve that was way too strong. I could barely bend the string on it. Like everybody else, you pull it back and you whap your arm, and I had a big welt on my arm. And so I kind of had a bad experience. All I was doing is basically shot it for 3 or 4 weeks, shooting the air up in the air and watching it come down. And so I kind of thought,
your mom probably loved that.
Oh, I know it. I know it. So, my impression was I'm a weakling. I can't pull 45 pounds. This bow hunting ain't for me. So go through a big change going from, 10 years old and then playing football through middle school and playing football through high school. And, I'm not going to say I was the Hulk by no means, but, but still in my mind, I'm benching, 250 to 280 pretty regularly and playing football, but it's still in my mind. I'm like, I can't pull 45 pounds.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that's silly to say, but I got involved out of high school with some buddies of mine. I mean, right out of high school. And they said, hey, we were fishing a lot. And they said, hey, we're going to go, we're going to their hunting club. And I'd gotten the hunting club with them. And I was going to wait till rifle season started, which was, in late October.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, man, we're going to bow hunt. And said, you ought to get you a bow. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to get no, bow or anything like that. But they talked me into it. So on a Wednesday, we went to the store to buy myself my first bow. And I'm nervous because I was like, I can't pull this back. And anyway, they talked me into it. And the guy, it was an 80-pound bow, and he backed it all the way down to 60. And I'm like, I ain't going to be able to pull that back.
Yeah.
And while I was in the store getting it all set up, the guy said, where do you want your peep height? We got to let you pull it back. And I'm like, you just set it where it needs to be. I can't draw it in front of nobody.
Yeah.
So he set this up, and I'm spending, back then I wasn't making much money at all. And the whole setup was like $280 or $350, something like that. And I was like, I am crazy for spending this much money on a bow hunting setup. So my friends were talking to the guy that owned the local archery range, which they had 3D tournaments and stuff back. Well, actually, they were 2D tournaments back then. It was just paper
just
targets
flat
on
paper.
Excelsior bells.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, with that said, I took the bow home and I said, man, this is the moment of truth. I've got to see if I can pull this bow back. So, I'm up in my room and I said, okay, here we go. You're 60 pounds now. And I go 1, 2, 3. And I about ripped the wheels off of it, So it was just like, it was instantaneous. It's like, man, I'm going to be able to do this. Point blank, I'm going to be able to do this. This is going to be great. So we turned it up, gradually. I went to my friend's house every day from like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and was shooting our bow, shooting real good. And they said, are you going to go to this tournament with us on Sunday? He said, we've never been to a tournament, but that guy talked us into it. And I said, there's no way I'm going to shoot a tournament. I've owned a bow for 4 days now. And they said, oh, come on. We don't know anything about it. And I just bought 6 arrows is all I had. They talked me into going, and they have a novice, a beginning division. And there was like 35 or 6 people in it. And I was shooting with my guys. And if you've ever been to a 3D tournament, it's kind of like a round of golf. You got 3, 4, 5, 6 guys. And then you go around, you don't see anybody else, and then you collectively gather your score and turn it in at the end of the day. So I didn't lose any arrows, and at the end of the day, I had beat the guys in my group, but we turned our scores in, and come to find out I won. I won the beginning division and only had a bow for 5 days. So I thought, man, I ain't never been good at any sports. I was just a big guy at football, and I can swim good, and I should say I can float good, and it looks like I can shoot a bow pretty good. So I was hooked like a fish, so I couldn't get enough of. I killed my first deer that year, and killed 3 deer that year with a bow, and then started shooting tournaments, and I just threw myself into it. I was a sponge. I just could not get enough of archery and trying to build a better mousetrap. And still to this day, we're still tinkering, and down here in the dojo, we're always trying new stuff. What's more accurate? What's more speed? Better flying arrow for giving and stuff like that. So it has been a lifelong passion that and my wife said, you sold your store and we built this house. Like, why are you building a shop in your basement and in our basement? And I said, honey, as long as I'm able to draw a breath, I'm going to be working on bows. I said, even if I was dipping septic tanks for a living, I'd have this bow shop down here tinkering on my own stuff.
Yeah. What do you think made you so proficient, like out of the gate? Was it physically, like just you felt so confident once you were able to, like you did that first pullback and you're like, man, that was, everything was in your head fearful wise of why you couldn't shoot a bow?
I don't know. I learned bad habits, like so many people do. I was way too long a draw length. I mean, and I was punching the trigger, and I actually won the world championships in 1991, and I was punching the trigger. I mean, it was, I didn't have anticipation and I didn't have target panic, but the person who punches and doesn't have the anticipation and target panic, they're actually the most accurate archer. However, it's going to jump on you at some point. You're going to get the flinches. It will get you. And it did me, in 92 and 93, I went through it so bad. It was, I almost wanted to give up archery, but when I was, punching in too long a draw, and I didn't know no better. I mean, it was simplicity. I didn't get in my own way. You judge the yardage. I was a good judger of yardage. That was one thing. Long before rangefinders were around, I could judge the distance. And then I don't know. I just, hold the pin there and shoot it. And I just consistently did it pretty well. And then, I'm more proud of the wins and my places after I went through target panic. And, you never really beat it, but I've learned to tame it since 1992. I'm more proud of those because I feel like they were hard earned, and getting over target panic was something that I'm super proud of as a lifelong goal, so to speak. But it's funny. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm proud of winning the world championships in 91, but I was doing it basically, just real not much knowledge of archery, of the inner workings of archery, not the Joel Turner type. Yeah. But now, since then I've definitely, I shouldn't say conquered it, but I've got it tamed pretty good. So,
Tbone, what was the format for those competitions like at that time? So you say you won the world championships. Is that like an Olympic level, or what was the format of those?
It was the same thing as like what, Levi, it's the ASA is what it was. It was, it was the first year that they actually introduced 3D targets. It was the first year that they introduced a 12 ring into the bottom of the target, like they do now. So it's the same format as it is now. So it was 3D targets, unmeasured. You had to judge yardage, but instead of now the limit is 50, these were out to 60.
Wow.
Yeah. So we was having to judge yardage to 60. You still had the 12 ring. It was the first year that they incorporated the format that we know now. So, it was McKenzie targets, just like what, we shoot now. So everything was the same, as it is now. Naturally the targets have changed a little bit, but yeah, it was actual 3D targets. But before that, the 5 or 6 years before that I shot, we started shooting, it was Excelsior bells. It was actually, do you know what Excelsior is? Excelsior is the wood chips. It's the fine wood shavings that they put inside of a casket.
Oh.
So it's underneath the velour and stuff of a casket is that, so that it'll rot. Huh. So it's wood shavings, and they take that and put it into bales, and we used to shoot into that with cardboard targets with pencil lines for kill zones.
Wow.
And the scoring was 5 and 3 and 0. So if you hit anywhere in the lung area, not necessarily the heart, just the vitals, you got 5. If you hit it anywhere, earlobe or anything like that, you got 3. And then if you missed, of course, you got 0. So, then we adapted the newer scoring. We went to a polypropylene plastic. I mean, like they were about 3-inch targets like that. They were called PPGs. And, but man, we ended up shooting through those so quick. They didn't last no time. Yeah. And then of course the 3D targets came, which were, lifelike. I mean, we often said that it was just like going to get to shoot 30 critters in a tournament and never getting your hands bloody.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, dude, I would assume the judging of yardage was a huge one because, I mean, obviously most people are relying on their rangefinder, but you take the rangefinder away, even for myself, and I look at something, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's probably whatever, 35, and you range it like 42. You're like, geez, like,
What do you think that is? Is there like an internal mechanism? Because I do think there's still people who are better at it than others.
Yeah, and I still practice it just because, you never know when you're going to have an electronic failure, or you always like to have a backup. In hunting, it's, a lot of times you can't grab your rangefinder to get that final. So you want to make sure that you have the confidence, because we all know that whether you're shooting, judging distance or whatever, confidence is going to equate to a great executed shot. Therefore, you're going to be more proficient. So, I think just some people got it. It's their depth perception. Yeah. The way you do it. I know Levi and, like Dan McCarthy, those are excellent yardage judges. I mean, excellent. And and I felt like I was pretty good back in the day. I mean, I'm not tournament ready by no means, but you incorporate a way to judge yardage. Like I used to take and pick the target, judge halfway, because you can judge to 20 pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you pick where halfway is and then hardcore judge halfway, then double that number. And then you can always, and on top of that, I'd imagine I had a 20-yard telephone pole, and then I was going to flip it. And if I flipped it, would it go past the target or would it land in front of the target?
Yep.
And then you play the percentages, like at that far, this target is a large target, so it's going to appear like it's closer than what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a small target, it's going to look like it's farther away. Same thing like if you're going from dark to light. If you're in the woods and shooting a deer out in the field, he's going to look farther because he's out there. So you have to take all those things into consideration.
Yeah.
That's a talent, dude.
Do you think
right there, that just that thought process, even that you're going through right there, like there's a science and a talent to that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think in a tree stand, like most guys, I mean, this is how I do it. I'm sure it's not original. I think it's just natural for most people. But you'll pick out like a ring, like so you'll identify something that's at 20 yards, and then you just kind of like, whatever that tool is that you draw a sphere with. It's like, okay, here's my 20-yard ring,
Your
and then
compass.
Here's my compass. Here's my 30-yard ring and 40, and so on and so forth. And then you find the landmarks that kind of, then in your mind you've got like this bullet, or this bullseye that's going out from you in the tree stand.
I totally do it that exact way.
Yep.
Pick something with your rangefinder, and once you know that your 20-yard sphere, as far as the 30-yard sphere, and you kind of just see what that looks like. Because I'd like to think that I never have to touch my rangefinder once a deer makes it inside 40. It's go time. I want to focus on nothing but anchoring, drawing at the right time, anchoring, and putting it in there. I don't want to have no doubts of, oh man, I don't know how far it is. At that point, you need to be in blackout kill mode.
Yeah.
Well, since we're on kind of that specifically, how important is speed in your setup? So talking about like pin gap and, especially from a hunting application, where do you think is a sweet spot for that?
To me, I think the sweet spot is, and we as men are macho. So there's so many people that get sucked into I got to have the fastest thing out there. If you'll study your sight tapes, and if you'll study like, shooting at, like, take your 40-yard pin and shoot at 50 and stuff like that, you'll see that to answer your question, 280, whether that 280 seems to be the sweet spot, meaning like if you're 265, that's fine, up to about 290. That's the range I like, and the reason I say that is by all means, we're capable of getting the bows to shoot faster, but you need to harness that energy into more efficiency. Meaning, like, if you've got a bow that is capable of shooting 350 feet per second in IBO, if you'll take that and harness that into a really good, forgiving arrow with, good FOC, build it into a good arrow, your bow's going to be quieter. It's going to be more forgiving. It's going to be more accurate. You're going to have better. And the only thing you're giving up is your pin gap beyond 50 yards, 45 yards. So if I got a bow at shooting 280 and then I got a bow shooting 320, the only really difference that you're going to see in your pin gap is beyond 45 yards.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, I know on the internet everybody talks of shooting long distance, and I'm all for shooting very, very long distances and building your confidence. But we, as east of the Mississippi hunters and whitetail hunters, the meat and potatoes is under 45 yards.
For sure.
I mean,
yeah.
And if you are going to take a 45-yard shot, more than likely the deer's going to be the second shot. You've already shot him and he's out there humped up and you're trying to get another arrow in him. So it's going to be, I'm going to range it. I'm going to know the distance, and then you can dial it up exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't really need the extra speed to help you get there. And then also out west, I can see where it's a little more helpful, but for the meat and potatoes whitetail hunter, I promise you that, a good 280 and that bow's energy into a forgiving setup and a quiet setup and an accurate setup is going to be, you're going to get more rewards out of that than you would if you tried to take one to the limit and try to get 350 feet per second. It's just going to be very erratic, and it's going to make you have to be more precise, and your screw ups are going to be magnified quite a bit more. So I'll go to my grave saying that accuracy always wins, period.
Sure.
I mean, I don't care how fast it is. The more accurate you are in any scenario, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah.
So
And that 280 is pretty achievable, right? Like most newer bows are hitting that 60 pounds and up, type
Absolutely.
thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Josh Jones, a couple of the other gurus, within the industry, we've all been talking behind the scenes. We want the AMO of archery is, which is Archery Manufacturers Organization, that was developed years ago. It's not talked about much anymore because the show is now called the ATA, show.
Mm-hmm.
So now but the AMO was developed. It was a 70-pound bow at 30-inch draw, and IBO was 350 grain arrow, which that's a really light arrow.
Yeah.
That's tournament setup basically.
Yeah.
So the meat and potatoes of people drawing the bow, very few people are 30-inch draw. Most everybody at 28 to 29 and a quarter.
Yep.
That's going to be most of your draw lengths. So what we wanted to do is bring it down to like a 450 grain arrow and like 65 pounds and 29-inch draw.
Yeah.
And let that be
your baseline.
Yep.
Yeah, that's your baseline, because the baseline when you're selling bows like these manufacturers are putting on there 350 feet a second, makes it real hard for a dealer. I'm putting myself in the dealer or the consumer. Let's say, we're fortunate to get bows every year, but there's a lot of guys that save up for 3 years to get them a new bow, and that's going to have to last them 10 years.
Yep.
So they go into that store and they're going to make a $3,000 or $4,000 investment. They've read all about it, and the bow says that it'll do 345 feet a second. After you rig the string, you get a good shooting arrow, and then you pop it through the radar, the chronograph at 281 or 285, and he's been reading all this hype that the manufacturer's been putting out there that's supposed to shoot 345. You just gut punched him.
Yeah.
That guy's going to leave there mad that he's just spent $4,000 and he feels like he got hoodooed. And then it's put on the owner of the store or the guy that's setting him up to, let him cry on his shoulder and have to explain all that. It puts the dealer in a bad position.
Yeah.
So we want to bring things back down to a more realistic baseline, like you say, so that everybody wins. I mean, it's good for the manufacturer, it's good for the dealer, and it's good for the consumer. Nobody has no negative, no bad feelings or whatever.
I've honestly never understood that. Logically, I can piece together that, okay, there's some supreme setup here with this super lightweight arrow that allows that number to be achieved, but
it's just marketing flair.
I'm like, what is that? I'm like, that's not real. I've never seen that out of this bow.
No, it's marketing flair.
Yeah.
And one thing that I was that has always bothered me is the person the group that came up with that is the International Bowhunting Organization. So if you're for International Bowhunting Organization, which we know is up in Cleveland, Ohio, why would they put that out there as a baseline for good bow hunting?
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, so we need to get back down to something that's realistic. I'm not saying that we need to go, dangerous game Africa style, where you're 1,200 grains, something like that, but something that is everybody can relate to and that's achievable, something that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, because these numbers are not achievable. They're naked strings. Sometimes the manufacturer uses less strands to achieve that so that they can promote that. I mean, nobody's able to shoot that. It's just not attainable. So
it's just a constant letdown on the customer, and like you said, frustration with the place that they buy it from.
You want that customer to go in there from an archery fan. I want the guy to go in there and just be spent $4,000, but feel like he didn't get screwed, so to speak, that he didn't get taken advantage of. Whereas now he's like, this is all fake. It's all smoke and mirrors. Whereas I want him to go in there and be a fan and a cheerleader and, have more pep rallies to tell more people how great archery is and how, we want positivity. That's my thoughts.
HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Deer Grow.
Man, hard to believe, but Deer Grow has been the sponsor that's been there since the beginning of the HUNTR Podcast. Back in 2021, I think that they were the only partner that we had, but it's such a cornerstone brand and set of products for our food plot strategy throughout the year.
No doubt. And it seems like we used to have an off season, but not so much anymore. It's like when the hunting season ends, it really rolls right into food plot season, habitat projects, all of the above. And the Plot Start and Plot Boost have been there since the very beginning. That's a cornerstone for all of our plots. The Plot Start goes on at the beginning, Plot Boost goes on midway through. And since they came out with all of the fertilizers, that gets mixed in with the Plot Boost application as well. And I can't believe the results that we've been getting out of that.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Like I said, it's all the work now that really produces the results in the fall. So right now, anyone listening to the HUNTR Podcast can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for 15% off any of the products at deergrow.com.
Better food plots, bigger deer. Jeremy, you can help me remember this more accurately because it was several years ago now, but Tbone, you were for sure one of the first influences on Jeremy and I as we were considering, first time we heard FOC.
Yeah, thinking more about our arrows than just our bows.
Yeah, or forward of center, increasing that percentage towards the front of your arrow. We were both coming out of what probably was Maxima red and blue type setups, freaking run of the mill, coming out of these bow shops and stuff. And whether it was at that ATA show or shortly leading into that, I remember, I think it was Victory that had partnered in some way with Grizzly Stick, and they were really pushing the Ashby stuff. And remember that was 6-7 years ago,
at
maybe?
Least
7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
And we're what is this? This is all kind of new to us. We're coming out of that speed realm, where guys were trying to hit, your 310 to 330 type speed. I can remember, it might even be Michael. I remember some lasers coming out of these boats, like Waddell, you know what I mean? And it's I just remember guys never used to get penetration.
Yeah.
But evolving to that FOC, that conversation happening and stuff. And we got dinner. I don't think we were together, but we ran into you.
We were at an ATA show, whether it was Indy or Louisville, and we were just hanging out at the hotel the night before.
Yeah.
And then somehow we, of course, similar to this kind of
couple beers and us were what's all about this FSC? And I think I remember you educating us at that time on some ways that you guys, you're we've been doing this for a long time. All my guys, this is how we run these setups, and that kind of sparked the flame for us to start looking into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. With us having And that's, we had talked earlier, Jared, before we got on here, but that's when I remember talking to you.
Yeah.
We talked then. And then also I remember we were in a meeting in some booth in an ATA, and you pulled me aside, and what really stuck in my head, Jared, is you're so passionate and so, energetic. And you could tell that you were in the sponge learning mode. So that really stuck with me.
Still am, man.
Yeah. Still having that conversation with you. So that's when I remember meeting you and talking with you. But
cool.
To go back to that, I've kind of preached that, being from tournament archery, and we know that these things work because most all Olympic archers are shooting higher weight, and they really work on fine tuning that for long distance. They're shooting 70 meters, and they have to fight different winds. Now it's a whole different thing, but nonetheless, a projectile is a projectile. So we know that you have to have a certain amount of weight, otherwise it becomes unforgiving.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we developed it was called the Torch is the name of the arrow with Ethan.
The Torch, that's right.
Yeah. But before then, even I was having the machine shops make me heavier inserts, 100 grain inserts, to go in my ACCs. Now we're talking this is before Bone Collector. I was shooting these.
Yeah.
Couldn't get them.
Yeah.
And for years, it's always frustrated me that the industry has a $300 a dozen arrow, and they have a 20-cent insert that holds your broadhead on.
Uh-huh.
So structural integrity is lost right there. That is the most important unit in you getting a deer, meaning you're going to have blowouts, you're going to have breakage, because you don't know what you're going to hit. You don't have no idea. It could be rib, it could be bone. We don't know, but we know that that's the first place that's going to fail. So we need structural integrity. And the FOC, you could put stuff on the front of it, whether it be outserts or caps of some sort like we have now. Luckily, companies like Ethics, Day 6, Iron Wheel, these companies are all building good quality components. And even I've noticed this year, especially in the last 5, but especially this year, Easton has really stepped up to the table.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these companies, Ultra, Gold Tip, have all building more quality components to where you're getting structural integrity up there. There's nothing worse than to spend all this time shooting your bow, on a bow, going on a hunt, and you shoot an arrow, and the burden is off of you. As soon as you cut that arrow loose, it's all on the projectile.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So your whole planning and money spent all comes down to this arrow making contact and going through the vitals of this critter. And if you have a failure based off of a 15-cent insert, that is not a good thing. So we needed to correct that. And luckily, it's taken 15, 20 years for everything to kind of get there. But now people are getting educated more about FOC, how important it is, how unforgiving it is, how much better it is in the wind, and especially the structural integrity of it. And the companies are following that too.
Right.
We have outside manufacturers that are building stuff so you can fit all of your arrows, and the manufacturers themselves are making some strong offerings in the component, so that you can play with your projectile and get it exactly the way that you want to. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Tbone, do you remember, or do you stay in touch with Ethics? That company. Do you know anybody over there specifically? You remember Haas?
Yeah.
You remember that guy?
Oh yeah. He's I think he went to work. Last I heard, he was working for Sirius Archery up in Ohio.
And I don't know that I don't know if he is still. I mean, he had a pretty serious bout with COVID, I remember, and I think it honestly put him on like disability. I think it laid him up pretty good there. I haven't talked to him in a few years, but
yeah, last I heard, after he got kind of stable after that, he was working for
Sirius.
He was
Archery. Yeah, that's the last. That's the last time.
That was who we were getting our initial insert parts and stuff from. Was from Haas and Ethics.
He drove out to see us at one point, and I think he was a part-time truck driver at the time too. So he's like, "Oh, you just were on my route. I wanted to stop in and show you guys some stuff." And that I remember that opened the door for me. There was this whole underworld of like the FOC underworld. These guys that were like the 800 grain shooters, the double bevel. I was like, "What is this? Who are these guys?" You know? And I dabbled for a little bit, and they all have their like underground. I mean, they're a little over the top type of thing. But I remember my initial exposure to that, and then developing an opinion of like, okay, like it's kind of where I am now. I'm like, I understand like the necessity to penetrate. Like I get it. Like, yes, you have to get in them, but also isn't it also true? We want to put as big a hole in them as possible. And that's where I was finding my own opinion. I was like, maybe we want to back out, and we landed back with big expandable broadheads. And so now where we sit with the Tbone, which I'm sure you'll agree with, is we have a setup that's built to penetrate. So between the bow and the arrow setup that we shoot is built to penetrate, and the broadhead that we shoot is as durable as possible. While offering us as much forgiveness as we can. We're shooting the beast this year. Yeah. So that's where we landed with it.
Yeah, I have no problem with that style broadhead, and I am partial to the Mega Meat.
That's right.
Of course.
Of course.
I'm not this guy. I'm a fan of archery first and foremost. So I'm not going to be this guy that's going to stand on his high horse and like, oh, you got to shoot this broadhead or you backing up.
Yeah.
I will give my opinion on all types of broadheads. At the end of the day, we're going to circle back to what I had said earlier. No matter what broadhead you shoot, accuracy.
Yeah.
You put it where it needs to count. However, we're dealing with a critter that's moving. We're dealing with buck fever that we have to go through. So, the folks that say, like you was talking about, Jared, that you got to have a single bevel, you got to be prepared to penetrate as if you're shooting a Cape Buffalo. I think that's a little overkill. Don't get me wrong. That has its place. And by all means, the argument that they make is absolutely true. It is the best penetrating, if you hit this bone. But my thinking is if I hit that bone in there, I'm not where I need to be anyway. It's in a bad position. Period. I didn't hit where I wanted to. And I would rather know that I was sending a 2-inch cutting diameter 3-blade or 2-blade or anything like that. Like you guys, I'm right there with you with a moderately heavy arrow that has good FOC, that's real forgiving. And I'd rather know that I blew a 3-blade 2-inch hole through the guts if I mess up going that way, on the shoulder, than if I had a 1.1/8 single bevel that goes through the guts.
Yeah. Yep. I think honestly, to me, I see, and you guys have seen more of them probably than I have, but there's like, I think the single bevel fade is a fad. Rather, as a lot of people were like, we're kind of on the other side of it, where guys are like, it's great, it does what we said it would do, but also, wouldn't we want these other advantages?
Speed, especially.
Yeah, and I kind of lump, not to change the subject, but I lump saddles into that same boat here, where I'm kind of like, yeah, no, it does do all that stuff that you're talking about, but you realize what you're sacrificing, like to gain that, kind of to be on that fad. And I think a few years down the road, guys will be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, tree stands, I guess. They're cool too, but
yeah, everything's got its place by all means, and I'm not going to be, you got to go one way or the other by no means, because I'm not going to say that, because it will get the job done.
Yes.
At the end of the day, you got to go with what you have the most confidence in, and what you can produce accuracy in stressful situations. That's what you got to go with. Because, I mean, a slow hit is way better than a fast miss.
Yeah.
Well said. Yeah.
What I was going to say there, Tbone, and kind of what we've heard from a lot of the guys who are shooting, especially get into those 500, 600, 700 grain arrow setups, is, the loss of speed, particularly if we're talking about killing whitetails 45 and in, like, okay, maybe at 15 or 20, we're not talking about a big difference. But when we start talking about 25 to 35 to 40 yards out there, like that gap obviously is going to get a lot bigger if you're shooting that setup versus what we're talking about here.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's why I like that speed system of about 265 to about 295. That's a good area to achieve. And most everybody that's a meat and potatoes type hunter, they can achieve that pretty easy. So especially with newer bows, stuff that's 10 years or newer, they certainly can achieve that pretty easy. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Granted, the 800 grain arrow has its place. If you're shooting a critter like a 300-pound boar hog, it probably would be the better choice. Or if you're going to go to Africa and some of these animals that have basically tongue and groove oak flooring for ribs, and there is no gaps, yes, you probably are better off to shoot that for sure. I'm not saying you can't do it with other stuff, but you want to maximize your opportunity. So therefore, the critter you're chasing should dictate exactly how your setup is. But I like to talk to the masses of the North American hunter, or especially even like the Eastern hunter. You take a 440 grain arrow to a 500 grain arrow, and build it with good FOC and a good solid broadhead. I'm not a fan of the mechanicals that fold back over themselves, but whether it's a fixed blade or a rear deploying type,
agree.
Broadhead, man, really just about you can hunt anything on this continent of North America. Seriously, I believe that. So, and you're not giving up. You have good killing, you have good accuracy, you have good speed for pin gaps, like we discussed. So it's a good mix of everything. But again, it all goes back to accuracy is always going to win.
Not to pick on them, but the broadheads that are opening up over top of themselves, is that from a momentum loss standpoint?
Deflection.
Yeah, I'm not saying they won't kill either, because they will. They'll point will kill if you put it in the right place.
Sure.
I'm just saying, I would think that you have more failures, with that style broadhead because of loss of momentum, and also like on
deflection.
Quarter, you may get a blade that comes out and it deters the path of the arrow, so therefore you lose a lot of energy, or the energy is transferred not down the right down the center of the arrow, but off to the side. Your energy off the side. Yeah, it's blowing out the side, so you're not going to get as good a penetration.
Yeah, potentially. Yep.
Yeah.
Nope, that makes sense.
It does make you kind of, in hindsight, obviously, you guys are shooting G5. They make some great broadheads. We're shooting the Beast this year. We've gone through like an evolution of, it was Rage, and then it was Sever, and then, so we kept looking or finding what we were looking for out of it, landed with the Beast here. It's funny to look in hindsight and be like how close those original Rages like actually were to a setup we all, I think, as far as a rear deploying broadhead, we're like, they were pretty freaking close. You know what I mean? They had a long way to come, but the design was there.
Oh yeah, man, Rage has killed a lot of things. I mean, it kind of started that rear deploying revolution, to be honest with you. So I don't have no qualms about a Rage. If we're splitting hairs, I like a 3-blade because you're getting 33% more blade cutting, and if you was to tear a blade up, you still got 2 blades. So you're getting more massive hemorrhaging out of it, and you still got a 3-blade hold. That's why I choose them. But the 2 blades, the 2-inch cut. One thing I was going to say about the Beast is I've got a couple of packs that I bought, and because I'm a guru, I just like playing with them and messing with them and stuff like that. So what I had found about them, or what I was curious about, I don't have the technology to figure this out, but I like the fact that it has the bone avoiding technology. And I've seen the things that they did where if it, like on a cantaloupe, it doesn't go on, it stays open through a cantaloupe, so there's soft tissue and stuff it does. This is the test I would like to see with the broadhead is, let's just say you're going through the ribs and the blades close in as it goes into the ribs, and then you're entering the cavity, which we'll say on a deer is what, like 8, 9, 10 inches of the vitals.
Yep.
It says it deploys, it goes back really, really quick.
Yeah, the spring.
But let's just say that the arrow is traveling 300 feet a second,
mm-hmm.
and they're closed on the inside of the ribs,
mm-hmm.
because the ribs close them. How far at 300 foot a second
does it take to reopen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question.
That's a fair question.
Because what does it say? Well, here, I got it back. Can't see where it says. Doesn't it say something like the spring opens at 900 feet per second or something?
It does, and I'm sure there would be a calculation to run on that.
That's what I'm wondering.
Also a slow motion camera would show you.
Yeah.
Which they have. So I'm sure they have the ability to do that.
That's a great question, though.
If it is, I don't know how you would ever determine it's opening at 900 miles an hour. I was just curious as to, like, if it does open at 900 miles an hour, if it's stationary, that's impressive. But we got something that's traveling 300 feet a second.
Right.
At the same time, yeah.
Yeah. Does it take 8 inches for it to get fully deployed again?
Well, I wonder too.
I don't know.
I wonder too. How much speed is lost, like at the initial impact? I mean, obviously there's velocity and momentum, but so if your bow is shooting 300 feet per second, let's say, the moment it impacts, it has to slow severely. I mean, 5-6 seconds into it, or inches into it, is it down to 200 at that point? Probably.
And that all depends on what it's hitting, and it all depends on the mass weight of the arrow. And, it's not, there's kind of a misconception with kinetic energy, because you can take a 600 grain arrow at a certain speed and do the kinetic energy formula, and let's just say it comes up to 80, and then you can do it a 300 grain arrow and a lot faster speed, and it's going to be relatively the same kinetic energy
because of the speed. Yeah,
because of the speed. But you can't, the kinetic energy is only measured at the side of the animal.
Right.
As soon as you hit the animal, momentum takes over.
Yep.
A good analogy I give everybody is, like, let's say I got a brick and I got a ping pong ball.
Mm-hmm.
I can throw the ping pong ball 200 mile an hour, or I can throw this brick 60 mile an hour. Which one would you rather get hit with?
Yeah. Ping pong ball.
Yeah, exactly. So, people talk kinetic energy, and then, like shops or people say, well, it's the same kinetic energy. Well, I'm choosing the 300 foot a second speed.
Yeah.
I'm going for that.
Yep.
Where you got to have a happy medium. And that's, it boils down to, if I could get the heaviest arrow flying 280, that's what I try to achieve.
Yeah. Well, that makes
sense.
sense.
It's a fair question too on what will that broadhead do in that scenario. We'll take this clip and I'll send it right to Josh and David and say, hey,
tell us.
Test it, send it, publicize it. People want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not that it's not killing lots of critters and stuff like that. I don't mean that. That's just me being a guru and, just thinking of a better mousetrap. That's all I was thinking about.
Well, that's it, man. I mean, it's just continue, and I think, and I don't mean this as a knock to the industry, but it seemed like for a long time there, the innovation was really amazing. Like what was coming out every year, every other year, just seemed like we were making just big leaps. And, unfortunately we've kind of got into a spot here where it's like, it is, call it creating better mousetraps. Like we're just trying to refine things that we have and technologies that we have to just get a little more out of it.
Here's an idea too. I'm just going to say it, so it's on record and I don't forget it later. What if, because I think some guys, I'm probably one of them, where I'm like, hey, I can do without even the bone avoiding technology. I'm like, I'm confident enough in my setup and my ability to not hit directly in the femur that I would take I would take it in a locked position. I'm sure they would be able to achieve something like that.
Well, you can't create the barb situation though in some of those states. The barb broadhead situation, which is...
Well, no, it would still come like this.
Oh, okay.
But it would not come back in. It would not use the spring after it's been deployed. Mm-hmm. So it would come out and it would lock. It would be in a fixed position. The blades may be more vulnerable at that point because they don't have the forgiveness.
Sure. Which I'm sure that's probably the thought process.
But that's the trade-off.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, go ahead.
With every type of broadhead, that's the way it is. There's always, well, this I'm good here, I'm bad here, I'm good here, and so
what's the trade-off?
that's why there's 300 different type broadheads. And, at the end of the day, you've got to go with your confidence and put it where it's supposed to be.
Well, for the most part, we're talking about whitetails here, which it's not rocket science. Right. Like put it in the wheelhouse, he's probably going to die.
That's right.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, and we'll move on from broadheads. How do you feel? How do you feel about bleeder blades in general?
I think it's just more cutting, more hemorrhaging. The way we're killing the animals is not by shock like a rifle. You're killing them by getting as much blood out of that critter as quickly as you possibly can.
Yep. So
bleeder blades is just more, the best way I've seen it as a redneck way to see how lethal your broadheads are is we used to take like a 2x8, drill a big hole in the center of it, and then put crisscross rubber bands up and down, back and forth. And then you just push, and each rubber band is representing an artery or a vein. And then all you do is just push your broadhead through there and see how many you cut.
Mm-hmm.
So the more blades you got, and the more it's devastation. However, I'm not a fan of a broadhead that the angle of the blades are chopping. I like them more on a less than 45 degree angle, so it's slicing.
Yep.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things that, you can check off, pros and cons and splitting hairs and putting things in your box, on any type of broadhead that'll, help your confidence and then, also equate to a massive hole in a critter.
I mean, are there, I know we're talking about the mega meat there. Are there still fixed blade broadheads that you think are still favorable, or is it mainly tied to the shooter understanding that they may or may not have to tune their bow to those better?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. Fixed blade broadheads are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question. It's going to deploy, even though as phenomenal that mechanicals are, and I'm a fan of mechanicals.
Mm-hmm.
But fixed blades, you don't have to doubt that it's that way when it gets to the critter. However, the reason mechanicals are so popular is back in the day, all we had was fixed blades. You get a guy that he shoots all summer long. He's grouping at 40 yards, hitting a tennis ball every time. His confidence is high. 2 weeks before season, he takes a 6-pack of muzzies or a 6-pack of heads. He screws them on there, and now his group went from this to this. The man's confidence is shot. He can't hit that because, it's been said so many times before, the broadhead acts as, it's veins in the front of the arrow. It's going to cause different aerodynamics. So it's going to have different problems. And if it's not tuned, if it's not spinning exactly right, or if it's not aligned up where they're all clones, you're going to have inconsistencies and your groups are going to open up. It's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have a good tuned bow. And so many people put, once the bow's tuned, it's tuned.
Yeah.
And one thing that they don't equate to is they just say, well, man, my fixed blades are not shooting as good. And if you're trying to shoot 300 or 400 foot a second, or I say 320 feet a second, those broadheads flying bad are going to magnify the flaws in your form because of that speed. So in order to get any little forgiveness, it seems like the slower it is, the more proficient you are because it's not going so fast, so it doesn't magnify the flaws in your form. Now, what we used to do is, in order to get, and I'm getting to this because that's why mechanicals are so popular, is because of we're just lazy as humans. We get 2 weeks and it's like, man, I got something that's going to cut a 3-blade 2-inch hole or a 2-blade 2-inch hole, and it flies pretty much like my field points. Why would I not shoot this? So we just screw them on and go.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they've become so popular.
Mm-hmm.
But fixed blades, you got to go through extra steps, and we as humans being lazy, we don't want to do that. So if you are going to get a fixed blade set up, what we used to do is we used to actually tune the broadhead. Because how many times have you ever screwed 6 broadheads on fixed blades and you spin them and they wobble like this?
Oh yeah, yep.
So that tells us that there's a problem there. If that leading edge, which is cutting the air, is off just a little bit, it's going to cause that arrow to not group as good. So ideally, when you'd spin them, you take the 1 or 2 that spun number 1 and 2, you put them in. That's my first and second arrow.
Mm-hmm.
These wobbly ones are going to be my squirrel arrows or so whatever.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah. So in order to bring that group back in, and I've proven this time and time again, I've let somebody just screw their broadheads in, fixed blade broadheads, go shoot, and they got a pie plate, 8-inch group at 30 or 40 yards. I bring them back in and I tune them. I built a broadhead tuner way back in the day. So you got this broadhead tuner, you can put it in there, and so many people have these straighteners or tuners where it just has a piece of paper. You ever seen them where they lay it on a like a rollers?
Yeah,
and
the roller.
Spin it.
Yep.
And it's neat. It's neat because you spin it and then you watch your
watch your tip.
Broadhead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you can't do nothing about it. It's just like,
I have one.
Yeah. It's neat. Like, hey, I'm going to spin test all my arrows. Yeah, you're testing them, but you can't do nothing with it.
Right.
Well, the problem is I'm not going to blame it on an arrow. I'm not going to blame it on an insert or a broadhead, but there's a 4-part system there. You've got the ferrule, you've got the insert, you got the glue tolerance of the insert into the shaft, and then potentially you could have a bad shaft. That's rare in carbon arrows now.
Sure.
But back in the day of aluminum, that did happen.
Yeah.
So we can take a dial indicator, and if hold on just a second, I'll show you what I'm talking. Can I show y'all?
Yeah, do it.
So this is a broadhead tuner.
Oh, damn.
So I made one of these. This is not the one I made, but in cooperation with Lancaster Archery, Last Chance Archery, I've made this. So you see it's got a dial indicator here.
Yep.
And then in here we got a roller bearing.
Mm-hmm.
So I take the broadhead. You can do this with mechanicals too, but you put it in there like this,
mm-hmm.
and you put the dial indicator right over the top of the insert, and you can see where it's out. Well, you can not only see it with a number, because you're only as good as you can measure, and you take this and mash down on it, and you straighten that ferrule, insert, and everything. So I can take, they can be out 8, 9, 10 thousandths, and I can make sure that that broadhead fixed blade or anything, and it's perfectly square right down the center. So I'm going to close your fixed blade groups to where they're back with your field points.
Wow.
So people tune bows, people tune arrows, but you've never been able to tune a broadhead. You can just see how bad they're out. Whereas this one, you can actually tune the broadhead.
Wow.
And you said you have been tuning mechanicals?
Yes.
Do you see call it a significant improvement on some, or what's that?
Not really, because they're pretty accurate at the beginning. Yeah. So if you're if you're pretty OCD, which as archery wise, I consider myself a little OCD. I just see if I can get more accurate. So it does help, but I don't know that on mechanicals. I don't know that most people could shoot the difference in seeing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fixed blades, no ifs, ands, or buts. I can promise you, I can take anybody's fixed blades and I can tighten your group up darn near double the tightness.
Wow.
Yeah, every time. It's proven. But I worked for years trying to get a broadhead manufacturer. I even asked G5. Because I had built this one, and I took it to ATA and I showed it to Muzzy.
Yeah.
I'm not a manufacturer. And I said, no broadhead company wanted to come out with it because it would show that their broadhead needed tuned.
Sure.
Rather than,
I get it.
So that's what, Last Chance Archery is right here. I've been friends with them for years. They build archery, work on equipment for shops and stuff. So it was the perfect person. They don't have a dog in the fight as far as a broadhead company. So they can make you more accurate. So it's been real popular, especially for the guys that are OCD and, want to make their fixed blades, that are dead set. They're going to shoot fixed blades, which is not a bad thing.
No.
It's just, if you want to go through the anal steps of doing that, this is going to be going to take you to the next level as far as broadhead accuracy. Fixed blade broadhead.
So are people buying that from Last Chance personally, or dealers buying it and being able to do it in the shop, or both?
Yep, they sure are. And then with the shops, what happens is what it worked good for me back in the day. I had the only one around, so people would get their broadheads. They'd come to me and I'd charge them $1.50, $2 per shaft to tune them. And then, if they was to shoot some to practice, I could retune them.
Yeah.
Or they know that they're square. So it's another thing for shops to get more repeat clients.
That's what I was going to say, man. Because if you help tune them and all of a sudden they start shooting better, guess what? They just immediately trust you a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's another great service to, get repeat customers.
Yeah. That's awesome. Huh.
Yeah.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Hoyt.
Should be no surprise to anyone listening to this that back with Hoyt another season. I'm actually going to be shooting the AX2 aluminum this year.
You traitor.
But you're still going RX9.
Yeah, blacked out as always.
Blacked out. Big surprise for everyone.
80 pounds. Big surprise. Yeah.
But seriously, man, I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Every year, it seems like we get a new Hoyt bow in our hands, and they're always a step above the last and just a step above everybody else.
Yeah, they're so consistent, man. Just their processes get better, every year. And we've really been excited about, as we've grown with Hoyt, we've brought some others in with us. And we just feel like the Hoyt family is growing, like the community, and we're really excited about the people that are involved, excited to be a part of that company. And it's really awesome.
So for anyone that's excited about Hoyt like Jared and I are, you can use the code HUNTR, HUNTR, on Hoyt.com.
Get serious, get Hoyt.
Well, that was always a big problem, given, I grew up in the double X75 era and stuff and, screwing on muzzies and stuff. And I get, I know for a fact that I didn't tune anything when I went out. And yeah, my groups went from this to this, and you were like, you'd mark your top arrows. And even now, like, I'll still spin my mechanicals and just see if anything is spin smoother than the other. And maybe I label that 1, 2, 3 or what, and that could be more mental than anything.
Exactly. We're doing all these things for mental confidence, and believe it or not, that makes a lot of difference for sure. So it makes you execute a better shot. So therefore, you get better results on your accuracy. So yeah, it's important. It's really important. So yeah, people are still. I've got friends of mine that are still diehard. You can't convince them not to shoot fixed blade broadhead. So we tune them right up, and it's pretty darn amazing. What I do with mega meats is, I know they're expensive, but fortunately we got a couple extra packs laying around. Or what I do with any type of mechanical is I take JB weld and I weld the blades.
Yep.
Yeah, some of them have, Beast is lucky enough to have a practice head.
Yep.
So that, and some of the others too, where you can lock the blades down. I know you can with the severs, you can, but with the mega meats, what I do is I just, so that I'm practicing with it, I JB weld the blades in them.
Yeah.
If you're shooting long distance, it's going to tell on you.
Well, that's where I was going to say. I mean, it's in it, whether you're shooting long distance or even practicing, or you think you will, like, you start getting 60 plus yards, and that's where you really start to see things potentially fall apart on you.
Yep. That's right. Yeah. So
I started doing that with the nocks too for a long time, just because they were, kind of expensive. I was like, I just never, not that they were like that far. I always believed that they were pretty close. I was like, I'm going from like maybe, I don't know, 5 to 15 grains, or I don't know what they are. We're shooting the not nocturnal nocks is what I shoot. But I've got to a point now where I'm like, hey, I've gone through enough. It's worth, maybe it's $100 for 9 nocks or something like that. And so I have all my arrows now have the nocks in them. Most of them are dead. I have 3 that are good for the season, but so now I can shoot with the actual arrow that I'm hunting with.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah. I really, I can't stress enough to people to shoot exactly what you're going to shoot. Like, as your nocks die, like you said, I keep shooting them, even though they're not lighted, because they're still going to grab the string the exact same way. If you mix it in with some OEM nocks, it doesn't grab the string the same. It's not the same thickness. So you need to, like you had mentioned, Jared, that's a great point, is to shoot with your lighted nocks, or try to save up and get enough to where you can, have some extras once they die out. And I personally am not a fan of lighted nocks from a accuracy bow.
Sure.
Because they're not as good. No company out there has built one that's even close to an OEM nock, a original manufacturer's nock. However, from a filming standpoint, it is so awesome. Like, if you're a dusky dark, watch the arrow just sink up in the side of a critter.
Yeah.
I love them from that standpoint. From the accuracy and the shooting part of me, I don't like them. But from a filming standpoint, and man, it saved our butts a lot of times. It's like, where did I hit that deer? And then you look back at the footage, and it's like you can actually see. So it's nice for hunting. It really is.
Yeah. Trade off for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the big part of it. I mean, especially if you're, I don't know, if you're just unsure, especially, you black out after you shoot something or whatever, but
which we all do.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. But I agree. I've never I've used a bunch of them. Are you not using them now? No, I really feel like I get a very big inconsistency among my group. Like, I don't know. I can't find anything that just, they all seem to work. Even if give me 4 or 5 that I'm like, okay, these 4 or 5 are all shooting the same.
Okay. So do you think that the more weight you have up front, the less impact it's going to have by switching to a nock on the back?
Yeah, I do think that is one thing to consider, but something else as far as FOC goes. Let's just see, people put wraps on there. They're going to 4 fletch.
Yep.
They're shooting lighted nocks. For every grain, I don't know this to be exact, but it's close. For every grain that you put on the back, you got to put 2 in the front to offset that.
Oh, wow.
So
so
that's why I love the way wraps look. Now, cosmetic wise, they are awesome. How from a performance standpoint, that's why I don't use wraps, and I'm not a fan of 4 fletch. I think it's a waste, and I think the test that they were doing, I forget the guy's name. They just published them here in the last month. It's some really good information.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, proved that 4 fletched is not an advantage. It's actually more drag, and that's about it. So it's not really providing any more lift or accuracy for steering of the broadhead. So, you throw 2 or 3 degree offset on a 3 fletch is just as sufficient, and you're a lot lighter in the rear of the shaft. I
guess technically, mathematically, you're probably right. If it's like 1 in the back, add 2 in the front, but you would think it would be even more than that. I'm like, for every 1 grain you add in the back, like there should be no weight back there essentially, so you got to add 10 up front.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, to stack on either end, I don't know what my arrow weighs on a grain per inch necessarily. I'm shooting that the HLR from Victory, but on the front, I've got a 75 grain outsert and 125 grain broadhead. So you got 200 grains stacked in the front. And how much does a Blazer vane weigh?
I want to not. They're light. They're 3 might be 15 grains.
Yeah, so I got 15 grains in vanes, and then I got that nocturnal lighted knock, which I want to say is it 25 grains maybe?
I think 28. The halo nocks are 20, and I think the nocturnals, those are the 2 most popular, I think.
As compared to an OEM being what?
Like 7 or 8, right?
It depends on what era, but yeah, anywhere from like 8 to 12.
Yeah, so doubling it basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's not the weight. It's not the weight as much as it is the consistency of how it grabs the string. That's more important, and the consistency of the shape.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So if you're shooting them consistently, you're more in favor of that. You're like, hey, as long as the string grab is the same, you tune it with all that. The weight is, not great, but it is what it is. It's nominal.
Yeah, you can get past that a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, you just can't make a lighted knock as light as an OEM. That's not as important to me as the consistency of the mold.
Yeah.
When you're putting electronics in there, have you ever noticed that battery is crooked sometimes?
Oh.
So it won't be dead center of the shaft.
Oh.
And guys, I'm splitting hairs with you.
Yeah, we get
fine.
it.
Most folks can't even shoot the difference in this, and I don't even know that I can. But like, if it's offset inside there, it's not in the center, so it's changing the way the spin of the arrow is. It makes it loopy, so to speak. It makes it want to do this. So that, and the way it grabs the string. Like, you take a OEM knock and then you take a lighted knock and pinch same servant, is not going to grab the string the same. And then if you're shooting them mixed up, the distance, like, you need to leave a little gap in your D loop, so come the apex of the string, it's not putting
pinching
torque. Yeah, because sometimes if somebody ties your D loop on for an OEM knock and then you shove a wide bodied lighted knock on there, when you go to draw it back, you ever notice how sometimes the arrow lifts off?
Yeah, because it's pinched down on your D loop.
It means there's excessive torque on it. So you want where there's no tension whatsoever on that knock, up and down, and no torque as it's grabbing the serving, the center.
And you're more so, Jeremy, saying that you're just like when you switch from your OEM knocks to your whatever nocturnals or whatever they are, they just don't fly the same, or
Correct.
even.
Yeah, it almost seems like my bow needs retuned, but there is no consistency to what I'm shooting to like even tune it. It's not like everything's hitting low left. Like,
you're not grouping with the lighted knocks.
No.
Interesting.
And I can see it in my arrow flight, like especially at because right now, so I've got a Kentucky elk tag Tbone, so I'm shooting like 70 yards, just practicing, But at 70, I put those lighted knocks in, and I'm like, like I can see that thing doing.
Wheeling.
Yeah, not good. And even where it strikes on the target, you can tell if it enters that target slightly off, right? Where with those OEMs, it's like they're bullets, like every time.
Yeah. I would agree with Jeremy on that. That can definitely be the case.
And maybe it is just like, I don't know, a bad pack or two, or just, you know, I'm shooting 6 arrows and maybe 3 of them fly good and 3 of them don't. I don't know, but it's hard to, it's not a confidence builder. Maybe you can eventually find your top 3 arrows and you're like, hey, these hit money every time. But in my head, I'm like, is it going to fly right? Or the next one I release going to be twirling?
Well, what's the deal with those halo nocks? Are those ones that you've used and that you like, or?
Yeah, they're closest to OEM that I've ever used. I've tried Luminoc. I mean, don't get me wrong, they all work good
Sure.
as far as the lighted part of it. But the Halo Nocks are they're the lightest, and they're the closest to OEM as I've ever shot. You know, they're real small, they're not real thick, they're not bulky left and right.
Yep.
They've been the most consistent of anyone that I've shot.
Cool. And they, as far as shutting them off, turning them on, it works pretty good.
Got a button on the side. Yeah, you just squeeze the side of it. You don't need a knife or anything like that.
I was just saying, I would carry a nail or a screw in there to, you know, pop that sucker up.
Yeah. That's right.
When I shot nocturnals, that's what I did. I kept a thumbtack in the in the rubber suppression that's in my limbs or on the bow. I just stuck it on my bow, and I always had a thumbtack on my bow.
There you go. That's a good
smart.
one. That's a good. That might be the best tip you've given us today.
Well, Tbone, let's go back to how long did you own your shop down there in Georgia? And then if you want to talk about how that kind of led into some of the Realtree monster buck stuff and eventually the bone collector stuff.
Yeah, I opened the shop in '94. I worked for Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta for 9 years, and then I quit that. Got tired of having to deal with Atlanta traffic. Went to work in an archery shop because I just, like I told you, at that point in time, I couldn't get enough of it. I was spending more time on archery stuff, even at my house, than I was my regular 40-hour-week job. So I took a pay cut, went to work in a shop, kind of learned the ins and outs. This was in the early 90s. Learned the ins and outs of retail, and me and a buddy of mine, I wanted to get away from Douglasville and Atlanta area where it was just booming, and I wanted to come south of Atlanta to where it was better hunting. This is, you know, kind of the best hunting in the state. So we opened up a store down here, and I was still shooting tournaments and traveling, and it was rough. I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you. Open up an independent shop, man. I mean, there's a lot of days there's a lot of weeks that if I made $150, that was it. So I mean, if I wasn't shooting and you know, having endorsements with companies, and I couldn't have made it. So I just hung in there. You know, everybody said small business, you know, hang in for 3 years and you can, you know, weather the storm. Built up a good clientele, a good following, and started working on the guys from Realtree, you know, during that 3 years, and became good friends with Michael and David Blanton, and, you know, all the guys at Realtree, and then plus the people that they were having hunt, you know, whether it be country music stars or, you know, baseball players, football players. They would, you know, come by and I'd get them set up and stuff. And, you know, like I said, I was living the dream. I was just associated with Realtree and the, you know, the most successful video series at that time for sure. And then they asked me to be a part of it, and I kind of quit shooting, started a family in the early 2000s, quit shooting professionally and, you know, touring the country, and was just doing more stuff with Realtree. And then, you know, me, Michael, and Nick were great friends, and we were doing Realtree road trips. You know, me and Nick was on quite a bunch, and naturally Michael was the host. And then we started, you know, Michael left Realtree in 2007 and kind of had the vision of, you know, starting his own brand and show. And he asked me and Nick, you know, in 2008, did we want to come along? It took me about 2 seconds to answer yes. Yeah. But in the meantime, in 2006, there was a local store here. There was a large gun store. It's called Gun Country. And there was a large store, but they didn't sell bows. And I kind of had all the archery clientele and business wrapped up. And in 2006, the guy that owned that approached me about selling my business to him. And, you know, most little mom and pop independent stores just kind of they just kind of fade out. You know, you don't ever hear of them selling. So worked out a deal. I didn't know how to sell a business. I researched how to sell it, and Bill Jordan was nice enough to let me use his, you know, lawyers and stuff they helped me through it. And I sold my store. And in doing so, you know, I had to transfer the clientele because he didn't want the real estate. He just wanted the business and me.
Right.
Yeah.
So we started working at the store. I had a 2-year no compete, and I worked through that, and a little bit longer. I became, you know, I was the manager and of the archery department and co-manager of the whole store. So it was a large store. It was like 25,000 square foot. Was doing about $5 million a year. So it was a good store, and the transition was great. And that's when Michael had asked about doing bone collector, and so I knew I was in a transition. I could still work at the store. We figured bone collector might last a year or two, and we've tried. Might fall flat on our face. You never know. So you just don't know. But I knew I was willing to try for sure. Come to find out, the guy at the store had a financial investment business, and this was in 2002, 2007, 2008, and when the stock market crashed big time. Yep. And he had his own Ponzi scheme. So he had robbed like $23 million from his clients. Oh. And, his side business was the store. He worked at another job. He was just like the investor. And then we had 19 employees. Had no idea none of this was going on. This was in May. We were starting Bone Collector in August. And in May, the FBI come in and said, you and all the employees have got 2 hours to get your personal belongings out of here. And that's it. They locked the doors, and that was the end of that.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
It was bad. So, fortunately, I had someplace to go, in August, and we started, just working hard on Bone Collector and doing stuff with Realtree. But I felt bad for the other employees of the store. Yeah. They just lost their job that they'd had for years, just bam, no more job. So yeah, he went to prison for a long time. He's out now on probation actually, but wow. He went to jail for a long time.
And you'd already gotten your payout for your portion of the business that you sold to him?
I did. I was real fortunate. He did owe me a little bit, but in the scheme of things of what he took from others, I'm thankful that it was just a couple $1,000s he owed me. So wow. I'm fine.
Wow, man, that's crazy.
I didn't invest with him. He wasn't who I used for financial investment and stuff like that.
Sure.
So
smart move.
Yeah, he tried. I mean, he
I'm
really,
sure
they call that shitting where you eat. I'm pretty sure.
He tried hard to get me to invest, and was painting some pictures that's like too good to be true, and 30% return on your investment. And I'm like, man, that just don't happen. That luckily I'd leaned on my dad a little bit, and he said, nah, I wouldn't do it. So I didn't.
Wow.
Yeah. And the saving grace, I probably would have done it, but we were building our house in 2008. That's when we were building our house, and I'm like, nah, I need to hold on to what I got, because I don't know what I'm fixing to run into.
Mm-hmm.
So I was real fortunate, but yeah,
cool.
Some evil people in this world.
There are, man.
So you're one into Bone Collector. What was like the schedule?
You mean like the transition into doing Bone Collector?
I mean, I guess what did that look like? Okay, we're starting Bone Collector in August. Ready, go.
Oh. All right, I'll tell you this that we haven't told too many people. So, Michael was doing a show for Gander Mountain at that time. He was hosting it, and he was still hosting Realtree road trips.
Mm-hmm.
He was basically not an employee of Realtree anymore. He was just a contractor.
Yep.
So he was hosting both of them shows. Wanted to start Bone Collector, but it's like, man, I only got so much time. I mean, you're going to do 20 something shows on the Outdoor Channel. How the heck are we ever going to do this? So in January, as we're putting everything together, we're having meetings. The way it was going to be is that's when reality TV was really kicking off too.
Yep.
It was going to, the way we planned it is me, Michael, and Nick were going to go to Africa. It was going to be all Africa.
Really?
Yep. We were going to Africa. We were working with Corey Knowlton. I'm sure y'all know Corey.
Corey.
Yeah.
Yep.
Corey Knowlton and Aaron Nielsen.
Yeah.
And we were going to work with those guys, and we had all kinds of tags, and we were going to do like, instead of, giving away 3 Cape Buffalo tags, only one of us got to do the Cape Buffalo. And what we were going to do is have a contest, like 40-yard dash. Whoever wins the 40-yard dash, naturally, I ain't going to get to kill it.
You're like, come on, guys.
Not killing a buffalo.
I don't want to kill a buffalo anyways. That's fine.
Yeah. So we were going to have 40-yard dash, and we was going to say who could, be most accurate at 50 with their bow. We was going to come up with contests to win each tag.
Okay.
So we were going over there for like 4 to 5 weeks, and we were going to try to get enough content, because we could do that from May to like July.
Yep.
And that wouldn't interfere with the fall at all.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going to try to build our whole season over 5 weeks of filming. And if you remember right, those first shows, I ended up not going. We aborted like in April. We said, no, we're not going to do that. But we had already committed to doing some stuff with Africa. So Nick was kind of I was still working at the store.
Mm-hmm.
So Nick went. Nick's game for anything.
Yeah. He said, oh, you want me to kill something? I'm there.
Yeah, exactly. So he went, and he was there for 30 days. And then Michael went over there just for about a week. And Michael ended up getting $6,000 stolen, $6,000 cash stolen out of his backpack that he had taken for tip money, but it got stolen out of Johannesburg airport. So he was mad, and then he ended up shooting a.
He told us that.
Yeah,
I remember hearing that. Yeah.
And he ended up shooting with a muzzleloader because the whole bone collector. He told you how the name come up about the muzzleloader.
Mm-hmm.
His name was muzzleloader. He took the muzzleloader so that we could kick off the bone collector muzzleloader. He was going to kill a Cape buffalo with it. He drew blood, and once you draw blood, that's it. So you can track that animal for 2 or 3, days or whatever, as long as you're on blood, and shoot that same animal, but you can't shoot a different Cape buffalo. So he lost his Cape buffalo. He was over there for a week and then lost $1,000 cash. So he was fighting mad.
It was not a great start to the show.
No. So when he got back, they landed in Atlanta. They came right here, and we were trying to rush for everything. So we did a photo shoot. Like, they ain't even been off the airplane 2 hours, and we were doing a photo shoot for our first bone collector. Actually, I'll take it. Y'all want to see it?
Yeah, man.
I got a poster of it, and now I've aged since then and gained a little weight too. So, but this was like, and this mad mean, we don't do mean mugging too good. Can y'all see that?
Oh yeah. That looks like a 90s alternative rock band for sure.
Yeah, it does.
That's exactly right. All black shirts.
Nickelback.
Yeah, it was Nickelback.
Yeah, that was right up against the barn that I had built. So those mean mugs was for real. Waddell was madder than hell because having to spend $6,000 on that Cape buffalo and getting robbed, that didn't work too good. But yeah, so the first part of Bone Collector was going to be us hunting in Africa. And then we said, you know what? We're known as blue collar, like that. Like, I don't know about y'all. Don't get me wrong. I love everything about hunting in any continent. But if somebody tells me they killed a 40-inch Impala or whatever, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, me either.
But if somebody tells you a 145 whitetail,
I gotcha.
Yeah. Whereas, I just didn't think if we're building a brand around blue collar
relatable hunters.
Yeah. We need to be hunting turkeys, deer, anything that walks on North America. That's what we need to do. So that we rebooted and said, we're just going to have to make it work. And, me and Nick really, those first couple of years as Waddell was so busy, we really, took the brunt of the load as far as, filling the tags and stuff, which we didn't mind whatsoever. But
yeah.
So yeah, it was weird. We were just, it's great memories, man. I haven't looked at some of those shows in a long time. I need to go back to my outdoor TV and look at some of them. It's like, golly.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Beast Broadhead.
Dude, Beast Broadheads. Man, we've been advocating for and shooting expandable, especially big expandable broadheads for years and years now. And it just seems like they just keep making them better and better. And ultimately, with the relationship we've forged with the Bowmarks this past year, we're just super excited to be shooting the Beast Broadheads this year.
This broadhead it's the world's sharpest expandable broadhead out there. It has best penetration, and it's got bone avoiding technology. Ultimately, we want to create the most trauma possible on a deer when we release an arrow. The Beast Broadhead does that for us every time.
So right now you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for a discount on anything on the Beast website. So definitely go check out beastbroadheads.com.
Oh man. Yeah, it's fun to reminisce on some of those hunts. And dude, it was such a great timing. We've talked about it on here before, but call it that 2008, 9, 10 time period. Like that really felt like the heyday of outdoor television. And honestly, like to a bit the industry, like everything was just buzzing so much. Like, Golden Moose Awards at SHOT Show. And that was a damn event. Like I remember like getting passes to that, and it was like you just landed Super Bowl tickets type of thing.
Yeah, it's like, man, I'm going to the Grammys. I can't believe this. Yeah. Everybody, all these guys wearing these custom True Religion jeans and Affliction shirts.
That's exactly what it was.
Right, that's like going to the ATA show or the SHOT Show, and I'm like, these guys ain't never dressed like this a day in their life.
There were so much bedazzled jeans there. I don't know if we could handle it on the guys, not the girls.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. We used to always. I said, well, I damn sure I'm never gonna fit in if that's what I gotta look like.
Yeah. But I mean, dude, what a blast. Like I remember, Blake Shelton playing. I remember John Rich playing and Big and Rich playing, like, and Nugent coming out with them. And like, yeah, just, I mean, it felt like you were king of the mountain at that point in time.
Yeah. And, the shows just aren't the same. It's always a family reunion at the ATA. And, the past couple of years, there's just been, I mean, it's nothing like it was 10, 15 years ago.
No. We're working on something there, though. My Stone Road got brought in to do some work on they've got the 2 days of ATA, and then the following 2 days, they're finally opening it up to the public. So we're working on that to try to really increase that and make it feel more community based, and opportunity to get and talk to the brands and really like some of the corporate people from those brands that normally you don't see at like a normal Deer and Beer Expo or whatever it might be.
And then I think they're bringing in like the one of the big indoor shoots.
Yeah,
too.
Rushmore Rumble.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and they just locked down the what is it, the S3DA? They're doing a youth tournament as well.
Perfect.
Yep, which will be awesome. Bring it, make it archery again, but bring back the archery feel of it.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So that dealers if they don't want to deal with all the rigmarole, they can get 2 days of good hard out of there.
Yep, that's it. Then jump in, jump out. Yep, exactly. So but to that point, I mean, and I say King of the Mountain, like I felt like you guys were. Like Bone Collector was the king of the mountain, dude.
Yeah, I'm so blessed, man. I mean, seriously, who would ever thought that, me, Michael, and Nick coming from humble beginnings, and I think people just gravitate. Our show's not a chest pounding, hey, look what I killed. It's more like, we'd love to have you in camp with us. And by the way, we happen to kill a deer too. We hope that's what everybody looks at it as.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it, when whether it was like a Great American Outdoor Show or whatever, there'd be a mile-long line waiting to see you guys. But and this is what Jared and I really take pride in for ourselves, is like when you see us outside of this, we're the same person.
Yeah.
Same person.
Yeah. We get that all the time. It's like, man, you're really nice, man. You're just like, I'm like, well, God darn. I said, the only difference between me and you is there's a camera in our face. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that really resonates with people, whether it's from seeing, music or sports stars, especially, that, you're looking at them and you're idolizing them, and you finally get to meet them in person, and it's like the biggest letdown you ever have, because you're like, that guy was a complete jackass to me, or whatever.
And in this case, it's one of the few times like perception is reality.
Exactly.
Like, rather than perception is not the reality. A lot of times they say you never want to meet your heroes.
Mm-hmm.
It's for that very reason.
It's kind of funny. I've gotten a kick out of like, not like, we're Bone Collector or anywhere close to that, but people have seen there's a lot of screen time, as compared to like a TV show.
Yeah,
there's hundreds of hours of Jeremy and I sitting at this table talking and stuff. And if you wanted to, you could watch a 4-hour episode at a time. And so there's people out there I know that have done that. And when we get to meet them, they're almost like confused that we're exactly, they're like, it's just so bizarre to like, it's like, you're saying exactly the same thing to me, but you're you're right there and not on a screen. It's funny to perceive that in them, but.
Yeah, you guys have done a fantastic job. I mean, just got a great podcast, and you really grabbed some really good guests, and it's really in this time where podcasts are getting more and more popular. You guys are doing a really good job. So make sure you keep up the good work.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Tbone, are you willing to talk about, like, I'm curious what some of the more recent seasons have looked like, with, if you want to talk about, like, you lost a leg here in the past couple of years.
Yeah, health issue, I guess.
How's that all kind of been going for you?
Yeah, in 2021, I was diagnosed with myxofibrosarcoma, which is it's a growth type cancer. It happens usually to men over 50 or kids. It seems like it doesn't miss with the middle aged.
Interesting.
But and I had a bump come up on my leg, about like a grape, and I had actually got bit by a tick, and it kind of got it infected in my other leg, and I was in the hospital. I went to the hospital just to get a stronger dose of antibiotics to kind of knock that out on the leg. And while I was there, anything that they do with your legs and stuff, they always run a ultrasound to check for circulation.
Mm-hmm.
So they were running that, and I asked the guy, the tech that was doing it. I said, "What about that bump right there?" And he said, "Well, it's got its own blood supply. You definitely want to keep an eye out on it." Because I didn't know what it was. I had actually fell on a hunting trip in northern Wisconsin back in 2009 or 10, and I fell on a stump that was about like a beer can. Wasn't sharp or nothing, but I fell right on my shin. So it's about like getting just nailed as hard as you possibly can. Didn't break the skin, but it was a heck of a bruise. I mean, I made it home. I flew home the next day, and I got home and went to the hospital, and they were concerned of blood clots and stuff like that. But anyway, they said, "Look, you've got a huge hematoma. It's probably going to take 5 or 6 years for it to go down." So I just thought it was something to do with that, is what I thought it was, even though it was 11 years later. So I went. It grew in the next 2 weeks. I got better from the tick bite. I went to my primary care, and I asked him. I said, "This thing's growing." I said, "Man, what do you think about this?" I mean, he said, "Man, we need to go get a MRI on it. I mean, an MRI. We need to find out what it is." So he referred me to another friend of ours. I'm good friends with my doctor, and this other guy's a hunter as well. So I went to him, and he said, "I don't know, man. We're going to have to take a biopsy, send it on an MRI." And they said the mass is huge under your skin, so there's a lot underneath there. We're only seeing like a golf ball now. It doesn't grown from a grape to a golf ball in 2 weeks. So he goes, I came back after it took 2 weeks to get the MRI back. So I came back to him. He goes, do you want to do a biopsy? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, I'll get that scheduled. I said, can't you just do it right now? I mean, because all they got to do is poke it in there and, get a sample. And he goes, you want to do it now? I'm like, yeah. I said, just numb me up.
Let's go.
He do some procedure. And I said, no. So they got me all prepped up, and they stuck the thing in me, and blood squirted. I mean, like it was under pressure. It just squirted out. They pulled out, and we sent it off, and it took like 11 or 12 days and came back as cancer. Well, by then, that's 2 more weeks. By then, it had done busted through my skin.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it busted through my skin, and I knew I had cancer now. So now we had to figure out exactly what type of sarcoma I had in order to find out how to treat it. So I'm thinking like, man, let's hurry up. Let's cut it out right now.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize they showed me in the MRI there was way more underneath.
Yeah.
I should share. I might send y'all the pictures afterwards. I'm not going to show them on here, but I'm telling you, by the time I started chemo, which was only 30 days later, so from like the middle of September to I started chemo like the first or second week of October. By the end of October, there was 4 portobello mushroom like this. I couldn't wear jeans anymore. I mean, they were huge, like, I don't know what to tell you, like bagels. That's what they were.
Just
like 4
grew
bagels.
that fast.
That fast. Outside of my skin.
Wow.
Not under the skin. I'm talking about busted out, and it was exposed tumor. Yeah, and me and my wife, we had to, had to change the dressing all the time. And then I started taking chemo, 3 different types of chemo, and the chemo was so hard. Most people who take chemo, they go and come back home.
Mm-hmm.
They had to admit me for 5 days.
Wow.
They basically taking me to death's door. And then all but one of the times I came home for like 2 days, and I was so weak, I had to go back so that they could kind of bring me back. So I go back for 5 more days. I didn't really need to come home really, but they said, no, you'll be fine. But it was just too bad. But I knew at that point I was going to have to lose my leg. But the doctor says, oh no, they try to stay positive and stuff. And then I went through 4 rounds of that, and we got through to January, and they said, we're going to have to amputate. Mm-hmm. So they pulled me off the chemo, and you got to go like 6 or 8 weeks before you got to go 6 or 8 weeks out of chemo before they'll do surgery on you. Mm-hmm. So what we ended up doing, and I think it was February the 8th of 2022, lost my leg to it. Had a small, the reason they was going to get rid of it is because once it's done, leaves your leg, it goes to your vitals, your lungs.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I assume one of the biggest things they were looking for is that it didn't metastasize.
Yep, it went to my lung. I had a small.
It did.
They found a nodule. They wasn't worried about it, but because there was a nodule on my lung the whole time, and they kept checking it whenever I would go back for tests, and it wasn't growing. They said, so we're just going to keep it like that. It's not growing. So
that's what happened with my dad with his prostate cancer. Yeah. It metastasized, and they found nodules on the lung, And it turned out that's the weird thing because obviously it's not like you have lung cancer, Tbone, right?
No.
It's that
you have leg cancer on your lung.
Yeah, exactly. Same with his. He had prostate cancer on his lung.
Oh.
Yep.
It's a weird process. I lost my mind when, I heard that news because you think, well, now does he have lung cancer? Like, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. And it just depends where it goes. It can go brain, liver,
exactly,
all kinds of places. So as long as it wasn't growing, they wasn't concerned about it. So I lost my leg and I was going through, I had to go to a rehabilitation so that things would heal and stuff. I was in there for 10 or 11 days. And then in April, that was in February, I lost my leg. So in April, we scheduled a surgery because they needed to do a biopsy on my lung. Well, it don't make sense if it's a nodule that's the size of your fingernail, it don't make sense to go in there and just take a little bit of it. Might as well just go in there and cut it out.
Mm-hmm.
And, and then test it when you get it out. So that's what they did is they went in and they cut out a piece of my left lung about the size of a credit card. Actually went underneath my shoulder and my back. They put 3 holes in me right there and went in and clipped it. I told the doctor, I said, I've spent my whole life trying to put sharp objects behind critters' shoulders, and here I am.
Yeah, you bring them a pack of Megameats, and you're like, I'm ready to go, doc.
Exactly.
Put it in me.
So he said, man, he goes, you got the right attitude about this, I promise you.
Yeah.
So luckily, it had been killed with the chemo, so it wasn't active. So and ever since then, I have to go every 4 months.
Yep. Get your scans.
Yep, and to this day, no sign of cancer.
That's awesome, man.
Right on.
Yeah.
So,
but being in a wheelchair, of course, I'm not able to be. Even as big as I was always real active.
Yeah, you were mobile.
Never been a couch potato, and but being in a wheelchair, I've gained a little bit of weight, and it's just tough to get off. I mean, working on what you're eating and stuff, but we put in a swimming pool and I swim, a couple of times a week, but I just can't get the activity that I really, really need to have. So it's been a struggle for sure.
Yeah. So did they take you below the knee?
Nope. It's above the knee. I've got a 9-inch stump.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a amputee below the knee, it's way easier to get a prosthetic.
Yeah.
But I don't have that. I'm only got a 9-inch stump. A lot of people, they say, well, dang, Tbone, why don't you get your prosthetic leg and stuff? Well, I can't. What people need to realize is I can't afford to fall. Meaning, like I got a way of. Yeah. But if I fall and damage a shoulder or elbow, then I'm not able to get in a walker. I'm not able to transfer to a bed. Now I'm able to get around and do things. So I got to protect what I have. And another thing is when I was a kid, like if this is your foot, I cut my 3 toes off on my left leg, the one that's existing.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So they sewed them back on, but they don't work. So I don't have the best agility and or balance on the leg that's left. So it's not like you can just go. So yeah, I need quite a bit of weight, and then attempt the prosthetic leg.
Yeah. Well, dude, not to compare apples to apples at all, but I'm missing one too, right?
Oh yeah.
That's my wedding ring I caught on a tree stand. First year of marriage and ripped it off.
Seen that before, yeah. So welcome to the Nub Club.
Yeah. I was like, I figure you've got a good enough sense of humor that I could be like, hey, I feel your pain, man. Yeah.
Welcome to the Nub Club.
Yeah. Well, dude, are you so what does that look like? Are you sticking like to ground blinds for the most part, or how you doing that?
Yeah, I have to, and that's fine. You just get more creative. It just is testing my hunting skills that much more. So you gotta. Me and my buddy Brian, who helps me around here, he films for us, and he helps me around here on the farm too. We what we do is we've coined the term, we train these deer to die. So that's what we're doing. Is we're trying to train these deer to die. So yeah, ground blinds and just getting creative. I've I guess I could if I was really like in dire straits to get in a tree. I know that they make some of the tree stands that can get you in a tree or a lip.
The ones that rise up and stuff,
but for the simplicity, there's nothing wrong. A ground blind is a very effective way to kill a critter.
Absolutely. No, for sure.
Is that mainly like machines? Are you running like driving a machine out to the spot, or do you have like an outdoor wheelchair that works pretty good for you? Or
a lot of the spots around here on my place is not. I can just, my wheelchair is kind of outdoorsy as it is, so I use it a lot. But I do have a 6-wheel wheelchair as well.
Yeah.
And I have a golf cart that I can drive to some of the spots, and then I just transfer over to a seat once I get there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ryan's with me filming, and he just goes parks the golf cart.
Right
whenever. Well, I say it's a golf cart. It's a bad boy buggy. So
yeah, bad boy buggy. Mm-hmm.
Right on, man.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Has it? I mean, how about from like your archery shooting and stuff? Have you felt like just having, I mean, obviously we all talk about like practice our shots sitting down and stuff. It's like, well, now you are down. Is that changed how you've shot, or have your weight adjustment on your draw or anything like that?
No, I'm still able to. I still shoot the same poundage.
Yep.
I shoot pretty proficiently. I mean, my age, my vision's a little less just because of my, and I've got shakes because of my age. But strength wise, and able to pull 70, 75 pounds, and shooting with the guys and shooting all the time, nothing's changed.
Just ripping.
Yep, just ripping it. Yeah, that's
awesome.
not changed at all. Traveling, I used to do a lot of public speaking, guys. I was a spokesperson for Whitetails Unlimited, and I did a lot of store events. I mean, I was definitely a road warrior for about 15 years, but that's changed. It's just harder to get around. So I just try to do events and stuff that are right here, within driving distance. So I'm able to drive. I lost my right leg, so I got hand controls on my truck, so I'm able to drive with my hand. That's a funny story too. Whenever I was like, man, how am I going to drive? I was thinking like I use my left foot, but we've all trained ourselves to drive with our right foot.
Yeah.
To overcome. And I'm like, nah, that's not really that good. I don't need to do that. So I figured I'd have to pay $2,500, $3,000 to get my truck converted over to where I could drive with my hands. So I just started Amazon shopping right after I lost my leg. And do you know that I bought my hand controls from Walmart.com for $129?
You're kidding me.
Wow.
Yeah, I can take them out in 5 minutes and put them on anybody's truck and drive anybody's car.
Wow, that's crazy.
Actually, I use the accelerator like on a four-wheeler.
Yeah, like on a four-wheeler.
Yep. So, and then I slam my hand forward like this for the brakes.
Jeez, that's wild.
Having done both, do you have a preference?
Oh yeah, the foot for sure.
Foot's better, huh?
Yeah.
That thumb is tough, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you get tired and.
Well, you gotta tell the cop when he pulls you over, hey, sometimes this thumb gets a mind of its own, man.
Yeah, exactly. I tell him, I said, look, man, I'm sorry I had a lead thumb.
Yeah, you're like, no more thumb wars for me. That's my driving thumb here.
Yeah, exactly. That's my driving.
Well, I mean, obviously, first and foremost, like the fact that you've been cancer free is huge, right? Because I know, so my dad had prostate cancer. It's been 3 years now, and it never really goes away, right? It's just basically contained with, hormone drugs and everything. And I think he goes in about once a year for his major scans. And, every time he goes in, even though he won't say it, like, I know he's worried, it is that, every ache and pain or anything that happens, he's like, did it come back? Is it? And so it just always rides there. At the same time, you just got to keep telling yourself, like, you got to keep living, regardless of what's gonna happen, what's gonna happen. Yeah, just gotta keep living,
man.
Yeah, and a lot of my wife gets pretty nervous every time, but for some reason I don't know why. I mean, and I'm not doing this for attention, but I don't worry about it. I mean, I worry about other things much more than getting the scans. It's like I'm at peace with it for some reason. Aren't you nervous? We got to go next week. I'm like, I'm not. I'm not nervous. I'm at peace with it for some reason. It doesn't, it is what it is, and if whatever it is, we'll fight it the best we can. So
that's probably the best mindset you can have, man. Because I know plenty of people that have gone into remission and stuff, and it eats them up, to the point where it affects their life when they're cancer free, because it's just always there. It's always there in the back of your head.
It certainly has put my life in perspective the last 3 or 4 years. And, me and Waddell did a podcast before
we saw it
off my leg, which was, and I feel that way even more so now, meaning like, if you look at the scope of my life, I'm in the 4th quarter of my life, and I look at it like, man, I have, from a redneck standpoint, I have way outlived my dreams. Now, if I never kill another cockroach, man, I'm telling you the truth, I have way outlived my dreams. So, everybody's out there like, man, you'll get back hunting, and I've had so many people, if you want to come do this moose hunt, you want to come do that? And I'm like, man, I really appreciate it. I really do. But like that, I mean, like, I am good. I mean, honestly, I'm so focused on what's important in life, like we've been having a handicapped kids come down here and hunt on my place and helping people. And, I got this, it looks like a shop here, but I've been helping just close friends and stuff get bows ready, and we shoot on Thursday nights. And, you just focus on, like, I lived with my hair on fire for 15 or 16 years. And, COVID kind of gave you a taste of it, but now even more so, it's like, man, you got to live, like you can't sustain that your whole darn life, man. 'Cause you got to take some time for yourself. And I'm so blessed, and so appreciative of everything that I've been given and all the opportunities and stuff. So yeah, man, I'm good. I didn't draw a Kansas tag this year. That's 2 times in 4 years, and don't hunt as much as I used to, but yeah, I still want to, or try to do a hunt or two out of state.
Yeah. I'm kind of bummed we can't be there for your get together tonight. That sounds like
a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, if y'all are down here, if you're coming to see Whitetail or whatever, or you're in the Atlanta area, I'm an hour south of the airport.
Thursday nights, we need to be there.
Thursday night, not man. Yeah, we make up shirts and we give each other pure hell, man. I mean, it is the ultimate, get together for sure.
That's awesome, man. Well, listen, dude, we appreciate you spending some time with us this afternoon and sharing your story, and thankful that your health is on the rise there, and also, appreciate you sharing that mindset, because I think that's something that a lot of us need to hear, and that, just this perspective on life, and knowing what's important, and being able to prioritize that, and just keep living, man.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm still very involved in the outdoor industry, and very valid, and so thankful. Like I told my wife, just working on bows and stuff is just pure joy to me. Like, you think you'd get tired of it, but it is definitely my life's passion. Isn't anything having to do with archery and land management and bow hunting and that kind of stuff. The only thing that I'm really sour about, losing my leg, is not being able to get in safely into my skid steer and do that kind of stuff. I really, really miss that. But yeah, we'll work on that. We'll figure it out. We need a full open skid steer.
Thumb controls, man.
I was gonna say, you better call Walmart.
$120 on Walmart.
Yeah, what do you got? You guys got one of these thumb controls for skid steer or what?
Well, no, I can do that part. Once I'm in there, it's the transfer and getting it.
Getting in and out.
Steer, you got it. Yeah, it's
a tight window in and out.
Yeah, and it all it takes is me tripping up, and I'll be knocked the bark off the side of my face. And
yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, cool, man. Good. Well, we appreciate everything, and great to hear from you. And we'll definitely have to keep in touch this season. And yeah, if we're ever down in Georgia on a Thursday night,
we'll try to make it 5 years next time.
Yeah, you guys stay in touch. If you need anything on my end, you just let me know. And like I said before, you guys keep up the great work, man. You're spreading the gospel for the redneck outdoor public. Appreciate you guys.
HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Lone Wolf Custom Gear.
Man, those Lone Wolf stands have become such a cornerstone of our equipment over, recently, but I mean, also we've been using these stands for a long time, even the original Lone Wolves. They're all built right here in the United States. The lines just keep getting better and better. Cody and Andre and the whole team just keep innovating and introducing new stuff into the line this year. And they've got some new things coming this year. Yeah,
so this year we've got the Patriot Series, which, a lot of people are talking about this as being the cheaper, just fixed position side of things. But let's be honest, they can be mobile too, right? They weigh 12 pounds. But they're built from a value standpoint. So for guys like us who want to have 3, 4, 5 preset stands out there for certain winds, we can put this Patriot Series out there, have them ready. Nothing better than slipping up into one of these fixed position stands that's already set on the right wind.
No doubt. And so this year, as of right now, you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR. It's a one-time use promo code. Gets you 10% off anything on the Lone Wolf Custom Gear website. That's any of the custom gear stuff, any of the Patriot Series. So whether you're planning on getting into one for the first time or you want to stack a big order here before the season, code HUNTR will get you 10% off.
Hunt like a wolf.
Travis Tbone Turner.
Long time coming. It's funny, yeah, because I vividly remember the I don't know which hotel it was, Hilton or something like that. It was Tbone, Michael, Nick, Jackson, Ryan, and somebody else was there.
Was Cohen there?
Cohen might have been there. There was somebody else there. I can't remember exactly who.
Jeremiah?
Super talkative. No, it wasn't Jeremiah.
Super talkative.
Maybe he did come, actually. I think he did come later.
Was it you, me, Steve? Garrett Brain was there.
Garrett
got a number that night. You remember that?
I do remember. He did get it. He didn't even try to get it.
No, and she just like, here you go.
Yeah, you're gonna need this number.
I remember that.
Oh, Gary.
Alex was with us.
Alex was there. Yep.
Brianna? Heather?
No.
Maybe Heather.
Heather was probably there.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a crew because I remember texting them and I was like, hey, they're just hanging out drinking. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
It's fun. So, but yeah, that was when we really dove down. We're like, wait a minute. So it's not just our bow. Like we can do stuff to the arrow. And he's like, yeah, FOC. And we're like, what?
I never once considered it. I remember just the whole, whatever teens and 20s having those arrows. It never crossed my mind like you could change components or anything. It's just like, I don't know. That's how it came from the bow shop.
Bought it, cut it, and put an insert in it.
That's how you shot it. Yeah.
That's how you shot it. Yeah, so wild, but good to hear. Cancer free.
I thought I was getting crazy with 125 grain heads. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, I know. Good to hear cancer free on his side, and just outlook and on what he loves to do and can do and keeps doing on that end. And yeah, man, I mean, it's we take it for granted. I'm sure it's like I can't. I mean, just think how mobile we talk about mobile hunting, but just in general, like just walking around, us driving to Chipotle today and stuff. It's like, there's a lot there you take for granted of just, that's just what you do.
It's funny to hear his perspective on because we've heard Waddy tell the same story about how they assembled the bone collector assemble.
Oh, yeah. Bone collector
especially
assemble.
As it relates to Nick. I remember the way Waddy said it was, he's like, so Nick, why do you think you're a good candidate for the show? And he's like, well, I like to kill shit and I think I'm pretty funny. So
yeah,
he's like, okay, you're in.
That would be Nick's response still to this day, probably. So, that's exactly it. But
that's what you call a large whitetail buck. In the words of Nick Munt.
What a freaking ensemble there, and especially just going back and thinking about those 2010, 11, 12, 13 timeframes. I'm like, those guys were the mountain. I mean, there was bone collector napkins, balloons, decals, tattoos everywhere. Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, they
definitely got to be the most tattooed outdoor brand, probably. Period.
Probably, beyond like it being not a manufacturer necessarily, like by far the biggest brand that was out there.
Yeah.
And so it was wild, and guys are still ripping at it, and and again, just they were one of the first guys that I remember when I finally got to meet him, which was 2012 or 13, probably when we started working together. And I'm like, whoa, like these guys are exactly like they are on TV. And up until that point, most of the people I had met had not been. Yep. It was like different person than I saw on television.
Yep, I felt that way too. I've never got a different vibe from any of them.
Yeah, so which is awesome, and which is what makes people love what they do and who they are. And it sounds like that Thursday night bow down is
20
pretty
people.
cool.
Yeah, it's a big get together.
Yeah, it's awesome. So
bow down, is that what they call it?
I don't know. That's what I would call it.
I like it.
Hey, you like that? You see where you got it?
Yeah.
Anyways, we appreciate everyone listening to episode 272 with Travis Tbone Turner, and we will catch y'all next time.
Later.
Take me